Coming up, devastation at an Alabama airport.
A surprise announcement about something most of us use. Wheel or 3 points? We settle the debate, maybe.
And let's go skiing in Maine. AOPA Live this week continues in just a moment.
There are many important things to consider before purchasing an aircraft. Let the experts at Aerospace Reports help guide you through the process. We combine expert knowledge with our long-standing commitment to personalized customer service to perfect your transaction. Learn more at aerospacereports.com.
This is AOPA Live This Week with Tom Haynes and Melissa Rudinger.
This week was the big helicopter convention in Atlanta, but the biggest news out of Heli Expo wasn't about a helicopter. It was about something that many of you use every time you fly.
Boeing announced that it has just bought ForeFlight, perhaps the most popular flight planning and electronic flight bag app out there. Boeing also owns Jeppesen, so you can see the synergy to that. Jeppesen charts have been an option in ForeFlight since 2016. Jep charts are generally preferred by business and airline pilots. But ForeFlight's co-founder told me this week that ForeFlight isn't going to change how it works for general aviation pilots. What's this mean for the GA product? Is ForeFlight going to ignore us? Are we going to be abandoned?
We're going to keep the same velocity up. Every time we have a software release, we think about, what can we do for everyone? There are some features we develop that require a lot of investment or for a certain segment of the market. Our roots are in GA. That's sort of where we grew up. Meeting the AOPA folks for the first time almost 10 years ago. It's our passion, and we're on a mission really to continue to create the sort of impact we've done over the past decade with GA with respect to efficiency, safety, and as you and I talked about, last year, getting ADS-B in the hands of every pilot, right? So there's a lot we can do to continue driving productivity improvements to all aspects of general aviation, whether you're in a 152 or 162 all the way up to a business jet.
But the even bigger question for most of us, are ForeFlight prices going up?
Yeah, absolutely not. So today, we're working on our 11.1 release that will come out shortly. That's got a lot of features in it for everybody at every price point. When I look at Apple products, there's an iPhone for, the starter version, and then there's the Cadillac if you want that. And so it's important for us to have an offering for every type of pilot, whether you're just flying on the weekends or you're flying professionally every day.
So congrats to the team at ForeFlight on that big move.
Yes, really, and we all know Tyson, and he's really been a leader in that space.
Right.
ForeFlight is just so glad to see that some things are going to change, but some things will continue to stay the same.
Yep.
Boeing announced something else this week, not out of Atlanta, but on the other side of the world in Australia. A new drone. Well, they call it the Boeing Air Power Teaming System, and they say it will have fighter-like performance and use artificial intelligence to fly independently or in support of other aircraft. The first flight is scheduled for next year. But back to Atlanta and a few more notes from Heli Expo. Electric vertical takeoff and landing, or eVTOL aircraft, were the big news. Last year, Bell showed a mock-up of their eVTOL cabin. This year, they added the props and called it the Nexus. It will be powered by 2 turbo generators.
And there's a new helicopter on the scene. Copter Group, spelled with a K, says it will build the new SH-09 at Lafayette Regional Airport in Louisiana. The Swiss-designed Copter is a large-cabin, single-engine machine. They expect it to be certified by the middle of next year. Meanwhile, the iconic Robinson R-22 marked its 40th anniversary at the show. To celebrate, Robinson Helicopter painted a new R-22 in the same color scheme worn by Frank Robinson's original helicopter. The two-place trainer has evolved over the decades, of course. The new one has electronic flight instruments, an Avidyne IFD 440 GPS comm, and a governor, among other features not found in that original one. And we'll have more on Heli Expo in next week's show.
Do the right thing. That's something that's unheard of in many industries. Fortunately, there are some good players in the aviation business, and one of them is Superior Air Parts.
That's right. The company has uncovered some issues with its XP382 and XP400 engines for experimental aircraft, and so they're buying them back. The issue was detonation in some XP400 engines that caused excessive wear and stress, but company engineers couldn't figure out the root cause. In abundance of caution, Superior is buying back all XP400 and XP382 engines. They share many parts. The buyback doesn't affect the smaller XP320 or 360 engines.
Something else going back to the manufacturer is one less option for an ADS-B out solution. Level announced this week that they've discontinued the beacon and work on the beacon 2. They said unforeseen issues mean some of the installations are having FAA compliance issues. Now, if you've already validated your ADS-B performance with the FAA, you can continue using your Level beacon, but you can also trade it in for another product or even get a refund. The beacon was only available for experimental aircraft.
The AOPA Air Safety Institute has resources aviation groups can use to build safety programs of their own. The Scalable Safety Framework is built to enable aviation groups to come up with, put into place, and sustain a safety culture. It was developed by ASI's Rob Geske. He is a PhD candidate and has a background in developing and auditing large safety programs.
We know the benefits of these safety programs, so the Scalable Safety Framework that we brought to ASI and to our members and to users is designed to take the core elements of a large SMS and shrink it down into a more scalable, manageable system for smaller operators to medium-sized operators.
Now that could mean anything from a flying club to a flight school. The information can be adapted to fit your group's needs. It is available as a PowerPoint presentation with a PDF on how it works. Find it on the Air Safety Institute webpage under the Safety to Go portal. It's free and available now.
AOPA and 8 other organizations are asking Congress to continue funding for contract towers. These are towers that are run by contractors, not FAA employees, and they are a lot cheaper to run. Contract towers serve more than 250 smaller airports, and they save taxpayers some $200 million a year. The group asked Congress for at least $170 million for the contract tower program. So we've got a contract tower here, and it works well. For some reason in Washington, it always seems to be on the chopping block.
Right.
And I don't understand that. It's a great cost savings for taxpayers and providing critical service. So we want to make sure we keep it that way.
Yeah, the guys here do a great job, and it's really valuable service at a reasonable cost for the government. It's nice. Well, hey, who says you can't fly in the cold winter months? Putting your airplane on skis opens up a whole new world of winter adventure flying. AOPA pilot editor-at-large Dave Hirschman braved the cold Maine winter to see what it's like to fly in the powder.
Ski flying in Maine requires desire. Flying here isn't a casual, spur-of-the-moment outing.
I feel like the saying is up here, you gotta want it. And that means anything you do up here in the outdoors, like ice fishing, flying, any recreation, skiing and all, you gotta really want to do it because it's cold up here.
It takes preparation, effort, and patience. But for those who persist, the rewards can be spectacular.
You get to access places that you can't normally get to. I mean, some places you can go by snowmobile, but it takes hours to get there, where the plane, it's only a half-hour flight. So it opens up a lot of doors for winter travel and the beauty.
Flying on skis doesn't require any special FAA tests, check rides, or endorsement, but there's a lot to learn. As in seaplane flying, pilots must read the surface conditions and think ahead. After all, ski planes don't have brakes, and things that are easy on land, like taxiing, can be difficult on snow. Flat light can make it impossible to discern a horizon or judge an airplane's height above terrain.
My last landing just now, I had to do a glassy water landing setup where you fly the plane, you just keep descending until it actually hits the snow. So you don't know exactly where it's going to hit. You just try to prepare for that, slow down, and wait for the plane to actually sink.
Pilots carry survival gear in a region where a single night outside can be life-changing or life-ending.
You want to make sure that your pre-flight is pretty specific as far as emergency equipment like sleeping bag. Up here I carry a satellite phone. Make sure you have a spare heater in the plane so you can heat the plane up. Make sure you have your cover for your engines if you have to stop somewhere. And they also want to make sure you have emergency clothing.
But the cold, dry air here provides lots of lift, and aircraft performance is exceptional. And looking down on beautiful scenery makes all the extra work to fly on skis worth it for this unique aviation experience. Dave Hirschman, AOPA Live.
The winner of AOPA's Sweepstakes Super Cub will get a chance to try their hand at ski flying. In addition to Tundra tires and amphibious floats, the Sweepstakes airplane will come with Whip Air Whipline Air Glide hydraulic skis. Find out how you can win at aopa.org/sweepstakes. That looks like fun, but it is challenging. I've done it only once.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work.
It
But it
looks
is an
like
amazing experience.
Looks like you need finesse, no brakes. That's a
Right.
definite got a plan.
And they were really cold up there last weekend. I know they're just now thawing out. When we come back, disaster strikes in Alabama airports.
And we celebrate International Women's Day and Women Who Fly.
Purchasing your own aircraft is an exciting experience. AOPA Finance simplifies the process, saving you money with lower interest rates and hassle-free loans, so you get into your new aircraft sooner. AOPA Finance, the right approach to buying an aircraft.
Welcome back. They say they'll rebuild it better than ever, but it's hard to imagine when you look at the swath of destruction. A tornado hit Wheaton Field Airport in Eufaula, Alabama on Sunday. As this video from Skybama shows, 27 aircraft destroyed, including a Honda Jet and a Challenger. But as often happens with twisters, devastation and safety can be maybe only feet apart. The Eufaula Jet Center, the airport fuel farm, and Sam's Kitchen and Grill, the airport restaurant, all were spared. The airport's 5,000-foot runway also was undamaged, and city officials are already planning to rebuild the smashed hangars.
If you frequent some of the Facebook groups for taildragger pilots, you've seen The Storm, a post debating wheel versus three-point landings can cause among keyboard warriors. AOPA editor-at-large Dave Hirschman wanted to take a scientific approach to the debate. He rigged up a GPS-enabled camera to his RV-8 and shows us what the data says.
Pilots who fly tailwheel airplanes argue endlessly about the merits of tailwheel versus three-point landings, but some facts are indisputable. If you want to land short and have positive steering with all three tires in contact with the runway from the moment you touch down, make a three-point landing. If you want to preserve forward visibility during rollout, be gentle to your tailwheel assembly, and you're up for a challenge, make a wheel landing. Here's the same airplane, in the same configuration, on the same runway, making both kinds of landings. Notice how it touches down at almost exactly the same speed, yet it takes far longer to decelerate during a wheel landing, and the total ground roll is about 50% longer. From touchdown until the airplane slows to 30 miles an hour, it takes just 7 seconds in the three-point attitude. It takes 25 seconds, more than 3 times as long, during a wheel landing. No one landing technique can cover every situation a pilot faces in the real world. In crosswinds, pilots must minimize lateral drift, and that's likely to require full control deflection as the airplane slows down. Icy runways put a premium on smooth and steady deceleration. Night creates a false sensation that the airplane is moving faster than it really is. Formation landings are made at short intervals, and each pilot is expected to clear the runway quickly to make room for those that follow. So stay proficient at both wheel and three-point landings, then do what's right for you in the airplane you're lucky enough to be flying. Dave Hirschman, AOPA Live.
So it doesn't exactly solve the debate, but it's certainly good data to use in an argument. I guess the answer is it depends.
Right, and there will be arguments ongoing.
Of course.
We came across a bit of little-known history the other day, thanks to the Washington Post. A small group of aviators who flew more than 30,000 sorties against the Germans during World War II. Some say they were among the bravest fighters on the Eastern Front. They flew old fabric-covered biplanes, the P-02, and they were all women. The Russian army had no more men or machines for this battle. As they approached their target, they would throttle back and glide down. The wind whistling through the wires and across the fabric, it sounded like brooms flying through the air. The Germans called them Nachthexen, night witches. The NBC News Learn channel has a great story on the night witches, and that's where we got this video. And there's a new novel just out, The Huntress, based on the night witches' story. It's fascinating history and worth the watch on NBC.
And March 8th is International Women's Day. It's a day to honor women and their many contributions to our world. Here at AOPA, the number of women staff outnumber men, and many of our senior executives and other leaders happen to be women. We got a few of them together to talk about flying, and here's an excerpt from our video.
I got my first airplane ride from my dad. I was about 2 or 3 years old. I was in choir at Purdue, and we had a couple of flight instructors there, Brady and Harold.
and one of them offered to take me up for an intro flight. So I flew with Harold a couple times, and then a couple more times, and I was buying books eventually and went right to it.
A couple weeks ago, I went on my first flight. I was really excited to do that. It was amazing. It was just so comfortable. I got to do a little steering. I didn't crash, don't worry, I'm still here, so that was great. And it was fun.
I learned to fly at AOPA. Now I have my instrument rating.
I didn't think that I would be interested in learning to fly, but when I was working on Flight Training Magazine and I was reading Bragg Brown's columns on flying carpet, he made it sound like something fun and something that I could do. And we have such a great program here at AOPA that really enabled me to reach that goal. I tell women all the time that you have to learn to fly because it's going to change your life. And a lot of them will just say, okay, but a couple of them will say, well, why? How is it going to change my life? And I tell them it's because you will get so much confidence. All the little things that may have bothered you in the past, speaking in public or having to do your own tax form or anything, all of that pales in comparison to flying an airplane. I mean, it's just one of the best things you can do. I have wanted to fly to the Bahamas in my own airplane for a long time, and in December I actually did that.
You can find the full 8-minute version of the video on our Facebook page or on the AOPA Live YouTube channel.
We do have a lot of talented folks here.
We do. It's a great environment for females flying because there's so many female pilots here.
Right. We didn't catch up with you, though.
We didn't. I was running around DC, I guess, so and that's okay. You guys see enough of me.
Yeah, one of the most influential women in regulatory policy at the FAA and for AOPA, so we appreciate the work that you do, too.
Thank you.
And that's it for this week. Remember, we love hearing from you. You can email to aopalive@aopa.org.
Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you back here next Thursday for another edition of AOPA Live This Week.